All right, guys, we are live. You are on the Rick Ginn YouTube channel, and today we are talking. Actually, it's kind of funny. Talking about the 10 worst wholesaling markets right now in 2023. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out. But what we're going to do is give you ideas if you're in these markets on things you can do. And I promise you, I will teach you how to find the right market so you can have the greatest success in wholesaling. But the reason I'm doing this video is if you live in these markets, you do have alternatives. It's called virtual wholesaling. So if you're in these markets and you recognize it right away, don't get upset. It just means most likely you are going to have to take up virtual wholesaling because these markets are brutal. So let me walk you through it. And honestly, every time I do these, a few more things change. So I'll update you, but like this is not a scare video. It's a video to help you out if you're in these markets, to point you in the right direction to find success so you can find motivated sellers in any virtual market you want in the United States. But so many people go, oh my God, it's so saturated. It's so expensive. It's absolutely crazy. But let's go ahead and jump into it and we will review this. So I didn't do them in any particular order. So like, do not look into this. And actually what I'll do is start here. Now, I could sit here and focus on Florida all day. And what I want to concentrate is I don't want to talk about like, hey, back in the heyday, we used to buy them for 100 grand and now they're 500 grand. That's not the point. Everyone's prices are different. For the most part, they're up all across the country. And remember, price is relative. It is what it is, but as long as you can make money on it, it works just fine. So once again, let me reemphasize, we're talking about the worst wholesaling markets in the United States. And the key is to identify it. So let's go with the first one. Tampa, Florida. Now here's what I've done to help you guys out is I put up the average medium home price as of this live stream in it. Now, to be honest with you, Tampa doesn't have a bad price point. God knows it's gone up a heck of a lot over the last 4 years. But Tampa, I just don't know why. It has been one of the mecca centers for wholesaling from day one. Honestly, it was the original place back in early 2000 where everybody was founded for wholesaling. And that's why you seem to have a lot more activity. Tampa now is very similar to Miami. So when you say the word Tampa, it describes such a huge, vast area. Now, the cool thing is amazing population. It is near the water and it is in a very populous state of Florida, which is a very positive political environment. The problem is the inventory is so low in Tampa and the competition so fierce. Honestly, I used to even do this as a virtual market and a little thing. I used to live in Tampa. So I've done a lot of deals in Tampa and I know it. It's just a different world. And as these prices creep up, inventory stays low, it just makes it harder for the average wholesaler. And I think Tampa is eventually going to be like the Miami market, but everybody seems to be going there. And it's actually a pretty cool place. But like, I don't like it for wholesaling. But if somebody wants to prove me wrong, because I've done a lot of deals there, a lot of things change, but it's crazy. The inventory never seems to fix there. Coming on the next one, since we're talking about Florida, and I promise you, these are the only 2 Florida ones I'll do, because I could probably break down 20 different markets I'm not crazy about. I mean, Miami, I'm going to be honest with you, anything south from Broward, Dade, down to Monroe County, it is not a wholesale friendly environment. It's just the truth. It doesn't mean you can't do it. So just because I say these are the worst markets, it doesn't mean you can't do wholesaling. It's actually quite the opposite. But if you were to go to say like Miami and do it for virtual wholesaling, you would be really challenged. Number one, it is the mecca center for all of Southern Florida, meaning everybody from the Caribbean, everyone from Central America comes in there, South America, and it is just a huge hub where everybody goes. Number two, if you don't speak Spanish fluently, you're going to be in trouble here. How fluently? At least 50% of the business you're going to be doing is going to be in a foreign language. And no longer is it just Spanish. You have Creole, you have French. There's a Russian population there. It is like a melting pot. The second reason outside the price point of $600K and climbing rapidly is the amount of cash buyers in the Miami market is insane. And here's the problem. They're not your regular cash buyers. They are what we call your retail cash buyers. And it gets compounded worse because people come from cultures in like Jamaica, South America, all the Caribbean, where it's common to have 10, 15, 20 family members living in one house. So they will go buy the biggest house they can and pool their monies together, and they have no problem paying cash for it. And for that reason, not only do you have to compete with the regular investors, now you got to compete with the retail cash buyers, and they all most predominantly go through real estate agents. And for this reason, it's a real pain in the butt. The third reason is Miami is the scam capital of the world. More scams go on in Miami than anywhere else. Real estate is no exception. And the crazy part is a lot of these $600,000 houses, I mean, they're just brick frame homes with not even central AC with window units. So this average price, 600 grand, is extremely misleading because it's factoring in a lot of the lower part income housing on there. And there's a lot in Miami. And for this reason alone, guys, it is just a tough market. Do not do it virtually. And if you live there, be active in your local market, but I would start considering other markets. Here's a hint. If you're in Florida, just go north. How far north? I would go like Palm Beach and north up there. So you get about a $200,000 reduction in average home prices and at least put you in the right center. And the really cool part is if you go up to Palm Beach, even St. Lucie County, all these other places where I'm at, you have 100,000 plus population. So it's easy to meet the basic parameters to get started in wholesaling. So don't forget that. I love Miami. I love to visit there. Honestly, I've spent a lot of my life in Miami, but it is not wholesale friendly. It is a hard community. Coming to the next one, I'm not even going to put a price on it because I don't even care what it is. Actually, the price point is actually pretty low in Chicago. I believe it's in the threes, maybe even low threes. But Chicago is, I'm not going to get into politics here. It is a very liberal place, and the policies are absolutely crazy. They have massive crime problems. I believe they have the zero bail rule in. Those crazy politicians moved their chase over to wholesaling, and they basically require you to get a license in the state of Illinois Class 1 deal, which I find absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And number three, man, the winters are so brutal there. It's absolutely crazy. I just don't think Chicago is it. They don't want wholesalers there. They try to discourage you at all points. And to be honest with you, between the crime and the outflux of population, I think Chicago's going to have some real problems down the road here. But listen, I love people from Chicago. I'm just like, but what politicians are doing to your town is absolutely nuts. And it's bled over in the real estate. So the Chicago real estate market could get really interesting here in the next few years. But I would really avoid this unless you live in Chicago and it's your heart and soul. But keep in mind, you're going to have to navigate through licensing and all sorts of stuff. And for that reason, I don't like it. That's why I'm going to put a price there. Okay, this next one is an absolute no-brainer. Okay, Washington, D.C. 625 as of writing this is the average home price. And honestly, they're predominantly going to be townhomes. 625, I guarantee, is on the very, very low price range on like a townhome type of deal. Now, DC is very crowded. It is a political town. And honestly, it's hard to make the numbers work there. So I get it. If you grew up in Washington, D.C., that would be the only exception possibly. Don't ever pick this as a virtual market. It's just challenging, guys. It's very established. There's very little inventory and the demand is through the roof. You think that would be the perfect scenario for wholesaling, but the problem is it's hard to get. They're at such a high price point. People feel they don't want to make a mistake and they want to work with a real estate agent / broker. And that's the problem. As you get to these higher price points, it's much more challenging because people won't feel like they need to get hired help to make sure they get the right price. And at some point, they just don't want to reach out to wholesalers. So the next one, no brainer. Seattle is absolutely nuts. Beautiful place. When I visited last, it's been 4 or 5 years since I've been there. But once again, they have the same problem as a lot of some of these towns. The politicians and lobbyists have all gotten on one side, and crime is rampant. The weather's actually not bad at there, but like $820,000 average home price, that's a tough number. And the problem is when houses get to that point, they feel like they need to hire professionals to make sure they get the most for their property. And they don't perceive us wholesalers, cash buyers as professionals because we don't have a real estate license. And for that reasons, one of the main reasons why it's going to make it so challenging. Beautiful place, but I believe they have I don't know what's going on with their population, but I know they have a major crime problem going on, and they're going to have to fix this because at these price points, if you're going to get up to the $1 million price range, people are going to have high expectations of parks and public places to be. And from what I understand, they're not living up to it right now. So keep that one in mind. Next one's kind of a no-brainer too. New York City. So the last price point came in at $761,000. Now, New York City is a place that's been around forever, and people go there to do business. Manhattan, the whole 9 yards. But there are a lot of outskirts parts in the New York area, like Rochester and stuff like that you can actually make the numbers work. I would just avoid New York City. It doesn't even make sense. And honestly, unless you're a broker, you're going to have a hard time cracking and getting anything in these because everything is chased down with a broker or a real estate agent. And for that reason, I wouldn't even mess with it. It's hard. And the way they do closings in that state, everything funnels through a lawyer. So everybody wants like Mr. or Mrs. Professional. And the reality, us as wholesalers, we're not viewed to that in the market because we don't get a license. The problem is I don't want a real estate license because that's not going to help me out in wholesaling at all. So we're letting like a no man's land type of here. So everything gets squeezed between lawyers and real estate agents and brokers. And the problem is when these average medium price homes get so high, it becomes naturally much harder for a wholesaler to penetrate these markets. Guys, it is the game. It is the game. When these price points get to a certain thing, they want to run it by every professional. When home prices are much lower and people have a problem, they just want to get rid of it. And that's where wholesalers come in. I'm not saying you can't do a deal at these price points, but you usually have to be associated with a broker or have the know-ins of these types of people. And the only way you can do that is through extensive networking, but you got to get some experience while doing that in wholesaling. So the next one, I don't know why I did double signs on it. Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's just a weird market. I don't know why, but we've tried to do deals there. We've watched other people try to do deals. It's just challenging. Anybody wants to share information on it with it? I'm not the only person that's come up with this, but they actually have a pretty reasonable medium price home at $345,000. But I thought I would throw it out there just to kind of let you guys know where it's at. It's just the truth of where it is. And remember, if you guys are in these types of markets, that's why the advent of virtual wholesaling has come a point. So you can choose a market where you can find plenty of motivated sellers and really make it work. Now, coming to the next one, which I was really surprised at these numbers. And by the way, I've done deals in Boston. I actually like Boston. I just hate the price points. It just drives me nuts. Now, the people of Boston are wonderful people, very passionate. And the other thing I love about Boston is there is a lot of multifamily. I mean, a lot of multifamily, a lot of old multifamily, which is where a lot of the problems arise from. But there's a lot of challenges with the price points in these markets. At 900 plus, it is challenging to get past the real estate agents and the brokers. And honestly, the lawyers at these price ranges. But I do love the multifamily aspect. So I wouldn't say don't do it if you're from Boston, but you're going to have to pick out some outlying areas to really make this market work. There's no other way to do it. So um, these are funny. The next one, Los Angeles, goes without saying. I could almost wrap the entire state of California, but there are good parts like Inland Empire, Sacramento, some other places that we can go into further discussions on it. But I'm going to be honest with you. Los Angeles, I mean, you're approaching $1 million just for a regular home. And guys, when I say average median price, remember, it takes the really expensive ones and then takes the really cheap ones, and we wind up in the middle. So that middle number is going to get you probably a below average house, especially knowing LA with the 20, 30, 50, and $100 million mansions. It would not surprise me. And that leads us to our most messed up market of all time. Everybody knows this by heart. Everyone says, I thought it'd be New York City or LA. No, it's simply San Francisco. And coming in as of this, I watch these numbers every year because I go through this at least once a year. And we're at 1.3. The last I checked, it was 1.1. So even though they've had more inventory over there and some of the supply is letting up, the reality is 1.3, they're all going through a broker or a real estate agent and an attorney. It's just, guys, at that number, people don't play around. And remember, people who own those properties get much more sophisticated. And the more sophisticated they feel like they are, it doesn't mean they're sophisticated. They feel like, I'm going to have to find people that are very professional with college degrees to help me sort this problem out. Not the truth, but San Fran's been around forever. Beautiful cities, same problem as a lot of the other cities. Crime running rampant, businesses exiting en masse, retail stores shutting down, crime at an all-time high, losing their parks, everything else. Basically made drug use recreational around there. This city's got problems. It's got a lot of history, though. So maybe somebody go in there and do the right thing. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger will go back or something like that. But they just have a lot of issues going on over there. But for that reason, I wouldn't even mess with it, even look at it. I do have two friends that do the San Francisco market exclusively, but they've been doing it a long time. And they're happy doing 1 to 2 deals a year, but they make $500,000 on each deal. Remember, you can wholesale in absolutely any market. There is no market you cannot wholesale in, within the United States at least. But we want to increase the probability and make it a win-win for you. And for that reason, if you're in any of these 10 markets that I just mentioned, I want you to understand this. There's 2 main things that you have to look at. Number one, if you're going to go in a wholesaling market, look at the average median price. My recommend, you got to be 450 or less. Like anything past 450, you're going to have massive obstacles because people want to hire professionals, realtors, brokers, and attorneys. I prefer being under 400, but if I had to set a hard cap limit, 450. If your market's 450, go to another one. So a lot of Florida's already been priced out of it. Like I'm already at that level now. Now I've been established in the market. I'm not going to stop doing it, but I keep picking up virtual markets so I can find new markets that I can penetrate to find plenty of motivated sellers. Because I know once Florida gets to a certain price number, the amount of money I'm going to have to spend to get a deal and my ability to get past the brokers and agents is going to become more and more challenging. So you can always make a shift. Number 2, look at the population. In a perfect world, 100K population or more is what you need. If you're in too small of a market, it means you won't have enough cash buyer, you won't have enough demand, and you will struggle to sell your contracts via assignment to a cash buyer because there's not enough people there. People say, hey, Rick, what's the minimum you want for a population? Honestly, I prefer 100, but 50's got to be the cutoff. Anything below 50, unless you have like a 90-day inspection clause, it's going to be hard to find a buyer in 2 to 3 weeks for it. That's just the truth of it. Every now and then, if you get it for the right price, you can always incite somebody with a great price. But those are the 2 minimum things that you want to consider when looking in the market. The third thing is local market knowledge. Do you have the knowledge for that market? The one thing that freezes people in virtual wholesaling is it takes time to understand the pricing and the culture of that market. So like an instance in Florida, we don't have basements. So when I go to a market that has basements, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I have to get other people to help me out to ask the sellers the qualifying questions about the basement stuff because I'm clueless about it. Roofs are very different in Florida. There's a lot of things very different. Pools are different here. But keep in mind, when I go to a virtual market, I plan on 3 months to kind of figure things out, to get deals rolling, get contracts in, and then be able to sell them. Now, here's the really cool part. Once you figure out that virtual market, then you don't have to figure it out again. But at some point, like anything else, the day you had to learn to ride a bike, the day you had to learn how to walk, the day you had to learn how to drive a car, it took a little bit of time to do it. Why would wholesaling be any different? And soon as you understand that, like, okay, I can do this virtual wholesaling. I'd rather you do virtual wholesaling than try it in San Francisco because that's all you know. And then no one will give you the time of day because everybody wants $2 million for their property and they don't want to give you an inspection period. You're just in the wrong market. So here's the best advice I can give you. If you live in one of these markets I've mentioned, or you're in a very, very expensive market, there's plenty more on here, trust me. 10's just scraping the iceberg. Is I always want you to stay active in your local market. How? The good old things, the government list, bandit signs, digital bandit signs, driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, and pulling all your court leads. Now, that being said, you'll only need a deal or two in that local market because you could earn a 6-figure profit pretty easily as long as you know your local market. So stay active, go to your local RIAs, everything else, network with everyone, and then you go find your virtual wholesale market. You pick the market that you believe you're going to have the best chance and look at the data. Population, average median price, look at the political climate. Do people pay income tax there? Is the population growing or is it shrinking? How's the weather? And honestly, just look at that. By the way, when you guys are selling your rental properties, when they have renters in there, try to find states or markets where the environment for landlords is pro-landlord. Why? Because it's much easier to sell them. A rental property in the state of California and the state of New York and the state of Illinois is completely different from, say, like Florida, Alabama, North and South Carolina. And people will pay more in the more favorable markets for the landlord as opposed to a non-landlord friendly state. So that's the beauty of virtual wholesaling. You can go anywhere you want. And for those of you, if you like, say you grew up in Virginia or you grew up in Tennessee and you know it, you know the streets, you just got to get a little bit familiar with prices. You actually have even a greater advantage because you might be able to find some local people that can help you out. If you ever have to take pictures, if somebody has to drive to you, drive out and get a signature, all sorts of stuff, or walk a cash buyer through. Every now and then we have to do that in virtual wholesaling, but I'm telling you guys, it works really well. So if you're one of these markets, don't panic. And honestly, in a lot of these markets, there's just subtle little shifts. I like to look for the outbound aspiring markets. So if you look in Tampa, if you look in areas around it like Lakeland and Plant City and some other places, my geography is terrible right now. But that's how I always find when a market gets smoking hot, it's just getting ridiculous. Start to branch out and look all around and look at the next up and coming community. And sometimes you can get out above the crazy appreciation of real estate and start thinking. Or you can still do that local market and then make that your virtual market and attack that. Or if you're in like the state of California or New York and you don't want to mess with any of those markets, go pick the best virtual wholesaling market. And you know what the best one is? It's the one that shows you the data that's going to give you the best chance of success. Don't do it by feel. Don't say, my dad told me to go to North Florida because it's really cool. No. Your dad just wants a vacation home and just learn how to identify it. So if you know that going into it, then you can protect yourself from it. But don't ever feel like you're stuck with one of these markets. It's absolutely crazy. You don't have to do that. So guys, those are the 10 worst. You can decipher it however you want on that. So it is what it is. So let me see here. Oh, let me get in the comments here. So if you guys want to do a one-on-one, I think I put the link on there. Did I? But yeah, my link's under Rick Ginn. Just click on that. I have some time here if you guys want to jump on a one-on-one. Also, keep in mind, if you are new to this channel, make sure, if you're new to wholesaling in general, I want you to go over to freewholesaling.com. And me and my son have created a course, 100% free, not only to teach you how to do your first wholesale deal, but how to make your first 100 grand. And the really cool thing is there's no credit card. You just go in there. We teach you how to do it for free, and it works. We have thousands after thousands. I believe probably around 10,000 testimonials. I've never asked anyone to post it. People do it naturally and organically because the dang program helps them out that much. So enough said with that. But the thing is, you have to do the work for it. I don't do the work for you. So make sure you check out that course. And guys, keep in mind, it's this Thursday, Friday, October 19th, 20th. I have a live event coming up here in Stuart, Florida. You do have to be a Flip with Rick Plus member. If you don't know how to do that, go over to Flip with Rick Plus and just get additional access to me. And we do 2 live events a year, one in Florida and one we travel across the United States. And we have a lot of fun because we get to meet everybody in person and we spend 2 whole days. And here's the funny part. We only talk about wholesaling and we focus on how to get you up and running in your business. And then we try to pair you with like the real shakers and movers in this business. I got people doing phenomenal amount of business in wholesaling that have less than a year's experience that started exactly where a lot of people are watching this video. So check it out there if you want to do that. And then as usual, if you like this show, make sure you smash that like button. And listen, one of the best ways you can repay me for all this great free information is just make sure you subscribe to my channel. You guys check out my son's channel, Rick Ginn, and also check us out on Flip with Rick YouTube channel, where I think we're approaching 100,000 on that, which is really cool. And that's a testament to you guys. So without further ado, let's jump into some comments. And then if we have some live streams, if you guys want to do a one-on-ones, I'll take as many as can jump in on there. So Azer's asking me about the Portland market. I mean, it's tough. It's not my favorite, but I would do is pull up all the stats and make a decision with it because you're right on the cusp of that 450. I prefer it to be 400 or less. Here's the problem is I'm not scared of the prices, guys. It's how homeowners deal with you as a wholesaler or cash buyer. They treat like you don't have a license. And that's the biggest challenge you have. The prices don't scare me at all. Like, honestly, it'd be easier, like off of a $500,000 house, I could probably make 50 to 100K a lot easier than I could off of a $50,000 house, just from a mathematical equation. But Portland's a beautiful place, but I think the price points have climbed to a point where I think it's just going to be challenging. Just my opinion. So really good questions here, by the way, today. So does the medium price also apply to probate properties as well? You have the exact same problem with probate properties. If you have $1 million probate property, odds are they're not going to respond to your mailer. It's the truth. I hate it. And the reality is, full disclosure, I've never done over a $700,000 property in a probate. Why? Because they all go to the stinking realtors and the brokers, because they are deemed the professionals and they are the trusted brand. And you and me are never going to beat that. You can wear the nicest polo shirt. You could wear an entire monkey suit, an entire business suit. It's not going to change that persona. And it is what it is. We have to just deal with what we have. So, So JP says, Rick, I'm starting wholesaling this week. Do you suggest I attend the event this weekend, or I'm too much of a newbie? So there's no such thing as a newbie. I don't care if people have never done a deal or you've done 100. I promise you, you can benefit from me and my son's trainings, but it's completely up to you. I will tell you, I am not a pep rally guy. Let's come get together and I just pump you full of I can do motivation all day long, but the problem is motivation doesn't last. And you guys know that. So when you go to most real estate events, I mean, I love the inspiring stories, but at some point you actually have to take action and cut your teeth and do the work required. And then once the stories come, then all the sales come behind it. And you got to take my course. And by the time you hear 8 to 10 speakers, you're like, didn't I come here to learn wholesaling? I'm not going to do that. JP, if you want, come out to the event, but you got to be part of Flip with Rick Plus. And the really cool part is I work with you through the entire year. My program's by far the most generous program out there because I make it affordable for everybody. And then the thing is, not only do you get my DMs, you get 4 contacts with us a week where you get lives and all your questions get answered. You get 2 live events a year. Why? Because we want to give you follow-up. We want to give you motivation, and we want to teach you how to teach yourself how to be accountable. Most live events you have to pay extra for. Ours are all included. So we don't sell separate because the idea is when you go and connect with people, you're going to make a lot of really cool friends. And then the idea is you guys can work together, holding each other accountable. Although I prefer you hold yourself accountable. And that way, if you want to take off with somebody at the same time, it's completely up to you. But the Flip with Rick program is designed as a long-term program. I do not do 1 month in and out because you're not going to learn the business in 1 month. You'll be better, but you won't learn everything you need to know. So if you want to do a program like that and you want to come and you want to go to 2 live events a year and then participate in the weekly Zooms and stuff like that, Flip with Rick by far is going to be your best bang. I would love to have everybody out there because I haven't done a live event in so long. Like I'm getting super excited to do it. So I think it's going to be really cool. But once again, JP, it's completely up to you. I would love to help you out in either way. Even if you miss this one, make sure you set up for the next one. But I want to work with you every month to show you how the business really works. Because when the speeches and the pep rallies are over, you got to have somebody there to get you through it. I don't have a student running you through this. Right now, me and Zach doing it personally. And that's just how we do it. So if you get value from it, do it. Great. Either way. But either way, do me a favor. Make sure you get started in wholesaling. I would love to help you out. So, okay. Here's a good one. Indianapolis is a wonderful market. Sorry. I'd be a little bit biased. I am in one of these virtual markets, so I know it works really well. So if Rick's in it, heed the warning. It's really good. It's a great price. So just look at the average price and the population and stay out of the hood. You'll be fine. So, oh, I get that. Okay, I'm reading comments out loud. Emerald, I appreciate the comment. So remember, we're looking like my long-term goal is to develop as many business partners as I can out of this. And a true partnership works like both sides make money at the same time. The last thing I want to do is sit here and take coaching fees from you guys all day. It's annoying. Most people don't get the benefit from it. And most people oversell like what they can deliver and what they actually promise. And that's the huge divide on it. So you got to find a program that fits best for you. Most of you guys just buy into it because you hear a sales pitch. You think it's going to fix all your problems. And the reality is most of your problems start the day you sign up for these ridiculous programs because they can't deliver a quarter of what they say they're going to do. So find a program that motivates you. More importantly, a program you believe in and something that is sustainable for the long run. Don't do these kind of quick pump and dump markets because if people go to like a weekend seminar on wholesaling or wholesaling boot camps. Guys, wake up. Oh, by the way, here's the last one. Promise me, if you truly love wholesaling, don't ever get on a bus to go to a tour to Home Depot or Lowe's. That is the farthest thing from wholesaling you will ever learn. And honestly, if I did that, I might as well be a realtor. So please, guys, if you're getting on a tour bus to go look at properties, that is not wholesaling. And if you're going to Home Depot to figure out what the right blinds and the right toilets to put in your rehabs, that is so far from wholesaling. I could never teach stuff like that. Honestly, I sell to people like that. So I find it interesting that they do it. But I watched somebody in the state of Florida, like a wholesaling boot camp or whatever they called it. And one of their first order of their businesses, they were going to Home Depot and then looking through houses. Ready for this? They were going to tie up 5 hours on the bus. You know what that means? That's your 5-hour fluff time. That means I don't know what to do. I'm just going to throw it. You're not going to learn anything on a, You go to Home Depot and yourself. I'd never do stuff like that. It's absolutely insane. So, okay. I just think it's funny when people say that. So by the way, guys, I love all the comments on like all the cities. I'm not going to go like through every one of them. You just got to look at the basics, the population, the average median price, and I love states that are landlord friendly. And there's a lot of states that aren't landlord friendly, and it makes those deals much harder to sell. But listen, the demographics of the United States is changing rapidly. So you're going to have to change with it. And with the advent of virtual wholesaling, no longer do you feel stuck in a market. Like I'm in Florida, like at some point, I'll always wholesale here, but like when we get to $1 million homes, I'll have to reconsider what my plan of attack for wholesaling in the state of Florida is, because the problem is when the margins get slimmer and slimmer and you start dealing with $1 million, like I don't want to make tiny little returns. The last thing I want to do is, because the problem is when you're doing $1 million house, you can't get away with a $100 deposit. We haven't talked about that either. So if you're like Portland or Seattle and places like that, it's challenging. So somebody put up here, I'm telling you guys, you get on a tour bus, and you have it like one of the places I started was in Coral Springs. And here's the funny thing is when I started, I thought it was super expensive. So yes, Coral Springs has changed drastically, and it's well over the $400,000 price mark, probably closer to $5. Coral Springs is a wonderful place to live, though. I loved it. I spent a lot of time there. Actually, I owned a home there for a while when Zach was about 2 years old, and that was it, man. So most of these markets are really, really good, guys. You got to look at the basic numbers, and the weird one is like Ohio. And first of all, Ohio is a wholesaling mecca. People have been wholesaling there since the early 2000s too. It was that in Tampa. Ohio is just very old school, like blue collar worker, a lot of affordable housing, but a lot of old housing. Now, there's been a lot of outflow from Ohio because it's not the greatest place to be in the winter, but it's very affordable living. So I'll always recommend Ohio. Sorry. It's like people are like, oh, people are moving out. People don't want to live there anymore. I'm just telling you, people are going to I think people will actually start to flock there because it's compared to Florida, it's a lot cheaper. Now, I would never survive a winter there. I'm very, like, I don't know what to do without the sun. It's just how I am. So I'm not a cold weather person. Maybe if I'm skiing, but I'm not that good of a skier. So it's like, it only goes so far. So keep it up, man. We'll figure it out. So appreciate it, Aiko. Emerald says, make sure you stay off the tour. You guys understand, if you're doing wholesaling and you're getting on a tour bus, you're wasting your time. There's nothing a tour bus can teach you at Home Depot. And I promise you, if you're doing that, look at the person in charge. I almost guarantee they got a realtor's license. The same guy or gal that's also going to have a mortgage broker's license. They'll probably have a Series 7 license. I call them serial license holders. They got to have a license and everything because that's what they want to do. So, okay, let's jump on some lives here. Let me pull up and see who I have not talked to in a while here. Okay, let's see here. Kelly, are you there?
Hey, it's Kalia.
Leah. Okay, I tried. Sorry about that. What's going on?
Okay. Good. How are you?
Good. What you up to?
Yeah, so I got a few questions. So we'll start with this. Can you wholesale bank-owned properties?
It's funny you mentioned this.
Yes.
I'm trying to answer this correctly. I'll be honest with you. There was a time this was a very good strategy. Now, I'm here to tell you it was never an easy strategy because you understand how a bank comes to owning a home, right?
No, not really. You can.
So basically, the bank forecloses on a property when a homeowner stops making the payment.
All right.
And everybody assumes the bank owns the property. The bank does not own the property. A pool of investors does. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mae.
Got it.
A bank's job the day after, like they fund the money for someone's mortgage, they sell it. Why? Because they want to get their capital back and they want to make transaction fees. That's how the banks make their money. So all those little, like if you have a checking account fee or an overdraft fee, banks make money on fees. So they service them. Well, when banks service mortgages, they don't care how long it takes. It doesn't cost them a dime. And they just bill the attorney fees and everything like that. So back in 2010 to around 2013, it was an incredible strategy. And the banks didn't understand what wholesalers were. They didn't know what we were doing. And if you knew exactly how to like spit the lingo out, you could do it. The hardest part though, you know what the hardest part of it was?
What was it?
You had to get to the gatekeeper. It was almost impossible. So there would always be one or two brokerages that handled like 80% of all what we call REO properties, real estate owned.
Yeah.
And you had to find a way to crack them. Well, guess what? Everybody chased this guy or gal around and you had to like basically beg them. And I hate to tell you, you almost had to bribe them. They controlled everything. They decided who was getting it and they wanted to get paid the most commission. So a lot of more unethical. Here's the problem is the banks figured out what wholesalers are doing and guess what they did?
What was that?
They wrote restrictions around it. So let me give you a little like lesson. I used to flip short sales. I did that in 2009 to 2011 and 12 because banks didn't understand what we were doing and we got really good at it. And it got so bad that banks basically enforced what they call a 90-day rule. And what the 90-day rule says, you could not resell this property for 90 days. Pretty much killed wholesaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they added another restriction on it. You couldn't make more than a 20% profit. Completely illegal. It would never pass the constitutional like merits, but banks controlled everything. And so it killed short sale flips. So then we did REO flips and it was wonderful. But guess what the banks did? They rewrote the rules. So whenever you own a bank-owned property, you usually have to waive the title. Like a lot of times they don't insure all the liens on the property. The bank wants nothing to do with it. The banks know that some of the properties are in a really bad shape and like people have done really bad things like concrete down the pipes and stuff like that. And you have to sign at the closing saying if there's any problems with it, the bank's not responsible. So you can't go back and sue anyone. They wrote a 90-day restriction. Now it's up to 120 to 180 days. So it means you can't resell the property anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
And then they've imposed the 20% rule on you. Now, the 20% rule is easy to get around because nobody knows what your cost basis is. But that's the problem. You have to fund them all. And if you have to fund them all, it's kind of hard. And then if you have to hold it 6 months, it's even harder. And then you have to get over the cash buyers seeing the property on MLS and want to know like, well, it's on there for 140,000. Why should I pay you 150? And like, so you get that whole thing going. So it can work, but when you get down to it, you're going to be hit with a lot of obstacles from the bank and they're a pain in the butt about it. And so if you have to wait 3 months to resell a property, it will kill a wholesaling deal, which means you're going to have to fund everything. You're going to have to leave a deposit and you're going to have to fund it with cash. And then you're going to have to wait 6 months to put a cash buyer to sell the deal. And most wholesalers don't want to do that. And so it kind of kills the deal. I'm not saying you can't do it, but even if you find a great deal, if they tell you got to wait 3 months, are you going to wait 3 months?
Got it.
And
Yeah.
that's the challenge as a beginner. Like if you're advanced, there's some ways you can get around it.
Okay.
Like if you had a really good deal for 90 days, but someone's still got to fund everything. And that funding on average is going to cost you between $5,000 and $10,000 for your average real estate deal. And that's the challenge with it. So here's what happens in anything in real estate. When anyone finds a loophole, eventually it always gets closed. Like you've heard about this thing called novations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are closing the loopholes up faster than we can even talk about it. They're almost impossible to do in the state of Florida now.
Oh my gosh.
But because like really you are operating real estate without a license because you never own the property, you never take control, and you manipulate the homeowner. and then you take a fiduciary responsibility and you break it immediately by making the most money. So it's like every time we have these little loopholes, eventually like people take advantage of it and it gets closed. So it's like only the people that gained it short term, but like it's hard. And that's why I keep teaching everyone, if you stick to the traditional teachings of wholesaling, you don't have to learn every trick in the book. It's okay if you learn a trick and you're okay taking the risk for it. Also keep in mind, every new trick you guys learn, it is untested in court. And eventually you're going to find out if it was good or bad. And that's what you have to understand on that. So what was your other question? Does that clear you up on bank-owned properties?
Yeah, well, I noticed a lot of these properties here that I'm driving for dollars. Like they're pretty worn down, and like a lot of them, like the Bank of America owns it or something. So yeah,
Yeah, the banks don't care. And you'll never get a hold of somebody at the bank to sell the property. So you have to go through a real estate agent or broker. And on 9 times out of 10, they already know who's going to buy it. They already know exactly what they're going to pay for it. And it's like, it's kind of like a good old boy system. It's very hard to wholesale bank-owned properties. It's just the truth. And unless you got a bankroll behind you, it's the only way to try to make it work. Because, and by the way, they're never, ever going to let you assign that contract.
Yeah, well, it makes sense what you explained it. So
Yeah, no, it's just, it is what it is. But you better off like knowing that now, because there's people to this day still selling how to flip bank-owned properties. I'm like, it doesn't work. I try to do it all the time. Like we have the hardest time getting a hold of the asset managers and all these other people. And quite honestly, banks usually want you to overpay for them anyways. And the properties are junk. And that's the problem why they sit there. Nobody wants to take care of it. And there's just easier things to do in life than to sit there. But like, you're not going to be welcomed by the broker. And by the way, the agent or the brokers ever said they've heard every trick in the book. So like, we think we're really cute as wholesalers, but like when real estate agents hear it every day, they hate it. And by the way, the people that list those are agents they basically owned by the bank. And so when the bank hires them, instead of paying like a full commission, 5 or 6%, they pay these people 1.5%, 2%. So they beat them up really bad. Man. So they're looking for just busy bees and workers. So they're not going to go out of their way, because if the property is going to sell for 150 or like 150, they don't care. And that's the hardest part of it. So it's hard to get a hold of the broker. It's hard to get a hold of the decision maker. And you are absolutely locked down a minimum 90 days to resell it. And you can't assign the contract. And you're probably not going to get away with a $100 deposit. So for all those reasons, I would just stay away from it.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you so much.
No, it is what it is. I bank owned. I used to get excited. You think, but banks, they don't literally own it. They just service it. So they don't give a like crap. They just whatever, because that asset is owned in a pool of billions of dollars of funds. So like one property doesn't make or break it. They don't care. I've seen properties sit 7, 8 years. Mowing the lawn, keeping the AC on, it made no sense. But, and that's a lot of that, the stuff doesn't make sense in REO properties, because they just don't care. And you need to deal with the homeowner, the seller, because that way you can get to a decision maker to at least make a decision for you. A bank, you're never going to get a decision. That's the problem with it.
All right. Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. So, I have a really hot property, fire damage from 2008. But the thing is, nobody can reach the owner. The town hasn't. They tried reaching the owner. It has blight, liens on it. And I actually added him on Facebook, but he hasn't contacted me yet. So, what do you do when a seller, can't?
Well, you just got to be as resourceful as humanly possible. But
Right.
how bad is the fire damage on this property?
The side of the house is like gone. So I mean,
From 2008.
Yeah, it's from 2008. I mean 2018. Sorry.
Okay, I was like,
yeah,
wow,
it's still 6 years ago.
you know what? You just you just try to be more resourceful than every other person. Have you talked to the neighbors at all?
Yep, I talked to him when I went over to a property yesterday.
And what they say?
They said, "Oh yeah, the neighbor actually moved in like 2 years ago, and he hasn't even seen anyone go to a property."
Okay. Have you looked up to see if he's paying the property taxes on there?
No, he hasn't paid them for like 3 years, so it's
So
gonna
what state is this in?
Connecticut.
So at some point they're going to foreclose on the house
Yeah,
and put it up for auction.
yeah.
So it's interesting when, by the way, guys, if you look to see if the owner's paying the property taxes, it helps you decide like what their intentions are to do with it. So did you see if he had a mortgage on the property?
Yeah, yeah. He has a mortgage.
And I assume he's making payments on that.
No, he's not. No, there's no payment since like 3 years ago.
So is that in foreclosure?
No. Yeah, the property isn't in foreclosure yet.
I mean, all I do is you just try to get as creative. So you're doing the right things. You talk to the neighbors, you skip trace the heck out of them, however you can do. You see if they pay their property taxes, and then you just do an extensive online search, and then you look on social media. Sometimes you can listen. You guys all the time, like people call me on my, Facebook has a thing where they can call you.
Oh yeah, I actually called him yesterday.
Yeah.
This morning, and there was like two rings, and then he hung up. So,
So
um,
all you ever want to do is just try to get them to connect.
all right,
And if you ever get them on the phone, you gotta have like your words ready to go. I said, listen, John, I got something about the house that you really want to talk to me about. You have to make it so compelling when you get him on the phone. He
yeah.
hears you out instead of hang up on you. So if you do crack him, you better have a good one line that piques his curiosity.
Well, I sent him a message on Facebook Messenger first,
Yeah.
so he probably seen that first before my call,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, it's about my property that I don't want anymore," and then I don't want to talk to
Yeah,
him.
but sometimes homeowners don't know. There might be no money left in it too. But
Yeah,
listen, all you can do is keep trying and trying, and then just go find other deals. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, you just kind of move on. Like there's only so much you can do. Some people just don't respond. You just try to be as resourceful as possible. The other one I've tried before that's worked, but it's probably not going to work in this one, is just putting a sign in front of his yard. Like you'll see if he's active on that property or not. And you know what I do? I put a for sale sign on it with a phone number on it. Pisses people off really bad. But remember that I'm not selling the property.
yep.
All I'm trying to do what?
It's just wholesale it,
I'm just trying to engage them. Whatever gets them to engage that you can do legally and you're not going to break a law, then do it. And when somebody calls and bitches about your sign, you just say, "Go, I'm sorry. He stuck it in the wrong house. I'm so sorry. I'll go by and pick it up." Are you the owner of the property? I get just like they get, like you ever have something where if someone put a sticker on your car and they had a phone number on there, you probably call it right away. You'd be pissed, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Same thing. So instead of putting a sticker on the house, you just put like a sign. Whatever.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sure people have let like stuff on the door and notes, and it's been that way for so long. You just listen, you try to connect with them. If not, just kind of move on and find another deal. By the way, I have hundreds of properties like that. It
Oh
just
yeah,
is what it is. I mean, he or she's in control till the day their name's taken off the deed. And it is what it is. But I'd rather deal with that type of person than an REO all day long. At least I have a shot with an REO. I have less than a 1% chance, and I know it.
yeah,
And if you're going to do REOs, it's got to be your full-time gig, and you better have millions of dollars backing you because it's the only way to buy them. And they still don't make money. I have a friend who buys 50 of them a year. Like they make less than 10% total. It's terrible. It's not wholesaling. I don't teach that. So, but just
yeah.
keep trying away. I mean, it's just, you can't crack everybody. It just doesn't work that way. But Occasionally you'll catch somebody. There's got to be a reason. If you ever get him on the phone, there's got to be a reason that he doesn't want anything to do with this property. Either he's way upside down or something, you're missing something. Go, hey, am I missing something? And I always say like this, I think you're walking away from money.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I do that is because I want them to talk to me. And most people will talk to you when money's on the line. So if you get them on the phone, have something, okay, listen, I need to talk to you about some monies in this house. I don't really, like, you might be able to provide him money. He might be walking away. You know how many people in this business thought they were getting nothing? They thought their credit was going to be ruined. And I let them walk away with like $30, $40, $50,000 because they didn't understand the real estate. And that might be there, and you just got to walk them through it. So when you get them on the phone, make sure you pique his curiosity. I would talk about money with that house because he's probably going to try to hang up with you right away as soon as he finds out what you're doing.
Got it. Yeah,
Okay.
I actually in my message I put cash like
Yeah.
twice in there.
Okay. Well, yeah, if not, just go find another deal. It'll work out.
Yeah, I'm just super curious about this property because
I
there's
know
so many.
the biggest way to cure yourself is go get quantity and just keep moving. So you're looking in the right places. You're looking for the right properties. Just the bank owned properties. I don't even waste my time, guys. I don't write offers. I don't even look at them. Unless a real estate agent comes to me, I go, I got this bank owned property. And then, by the way, a lot of the REOs right now is the first 10 or 14 days, you have to be a non-investor to put an offer in on it. So stupid. So that means people are going to put ridiculous offers on them, and then they're going to ask the investors to match them. And that's the other reason why I don't touch them either.
Got it. Oh
So.
yeah. So my last question is I heard you can buy like the tax lien to own the property. Is that a way?
You can. It's not wholesaling, though.
Okay.
So when you buy a tax lien, basically when someone doesn't pay their real estate property taxes. So this is how it works. Real estate property taxes, even if you own the home cash, you have to pay the taxes every year. That's what pays for the roadways, the police departments, the fire departments, and the schooling systems. Most local cities and counties, they're desperate for that tax money. Desperate. So it foresees everything. I'm not sure on the status on federal liens. I'm not a lawyer, but it comes before the mortgage. So it has to be paid. Now, at the end of the year, whatever time of year when taxes are come due, if that's not paid, after like a 3 to 4 month lag period, which there's a penalty every month you're late. So the city and the county can get their money is they sell what they do. It's called a tax certificate. Some people call it a tax lien, whatever you want. And basically it says, okay, I can buy Rick Ginn's tax certificate for this property. He didn't pay it. He owes $2,000. And here's how you win the bid. They started at 20% interest rates and people bid it down. For the longest time, people were paying 1 or 2%, which makes no sense to me. Basically, so if I bought Rick Ginn's $2,000 property lien for the property tax and say I bid it at like 10%, then I have 10% accruing on top of that $2,000. Now, in the state of Florida, how it works is after 2 years, if that person doesn't pay back the tax certificate holder, then that tax certificate holder can then file for a foreclosure. But keep in mind, they actually have to, they actually have to bid on it just like a regular cash buyer at the auction. So if a house sold for $100,000 at auction and you were owed $2,200 between the taxes and the interest on that, you're only entitled to $2,200. You don't get, so many people think, well, then if nobody bids on it at the auction, I can buy it. You can, but if somebody bids you, they're going to take the highest bidder. So the taxes get paid first. So people actually make a good interest rate on these tax certificates, tax liens, whatever you want to call them. But by no way or shape is it considered investing because you don't own the property. You have to actually go to auction. And so when it goes to an auction, a foreclosure auction, it's a group of bidders and they don't know where the properties are coming from. They just bid them up. So unless nobody bids, and by the way, the only time a property, nobody bids on it, those are the properties nobody wants. And a lot of times people go to these auctions thinking they're getting great deals, and they're like tiny little lots you can't build on. They're mobile home, tiny little lots, or they're like drainage ditches. And then what happens is the county winds up owning most of them. So listen, I only teach wholesale, like the tax liens. People are like, well, once I get a tax lien, I can go talk to the homeowner. You can talk to the homeowner without owning the tax lien just the same way. They only have the right to collect the taxes on it, and they can't go. It has to be collected through the city or the county, however they do taxes. They're not a debt collector when they do it. Like, you can't make them pay you. So a lot of people think, oh, this gives me a huge advantage. It doesn't. Like, once it goes to auction, so if it's going to auction, I see it coming up, then I could just bid on the auction and go from there. That way. So unless nobody else ever shows up to an auction, it's going to be a problem. So it doesn't like it's not a good strategy. And by the way, I bought plenty of them. They give you no competitive advantage. It's just a strategy for people to invest their money. Sometimes people can get 10 and 12% returns. It's not bad, but that person will invest $500,000 to $1 million to get a return, just like what you would on the stock market or the bond market or something like that. It's just, but from a real estate strategy, keep in mind, when you foreclose, you have to pay an attorney to foreclose for you. That can cost you another $5,000.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, so you're going to wait around 4 or 5 years to see if it works out for you. You're much better off going out and chasing motivated home sellers and deal with that way. I don't like tax certificates, tax lien sales. You're just buying a note. That's it. You're better off buying a real estate note if it comes to that, buying someone else's private mortgage. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, like, don't get me wrong. People use it, but it has nothing to do with wholesaling. That is just a straight up, and every state's got a little bit different variants on how it works. And then there's some states, check this out.
Yeah.
You could go through all that, wait 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and file for a foreclosure. And then in some states, that homeowner gets like another 1 year redemption to buy their property back for the original price. So like, who the hell wants to do that? And I hate that part of it, but it's called the right of redemption. Thank God Florida doesn't have it. Florida's got like a 3-day window. That's it. But there's some states, like I know Texas has a crazy one. And then people could comment on here. Like, it's absolutely nuts, some of the stuff that can be done. And for that reason, I don't like it. I like to be able to find a deal, help people out, control it, make a win-win, and move on. And so when you try to, and by the way, I appreciate bringing up all this stuff because it comes up all the time, is trying to do the bank-owned properties and trying to do like the tax certificate stuff like that. There's no substitute for pure wholesaling. It's just straight up. It's just how it works. And when people come out with like these novations and all these cute things, there's somebody selling a course on how to sell your wholesale deals retail. It's a joke. You will never, ever get that done as a newbie. Like it's going to put you in such a bad position. It's going to fail miserably, and you're probably going to wind up getting sued. And you know what? The biggest cure to it, just go out and do traditional wholesaling. It works. It's always worked. It's just in the last 5 or 6 years, everyone's tried to like put their little spin on it. And almost every one of these techniques have been shut down. So if you know it's going to be shut down, why even bother doing it? That's my theory on it. So.
All right. Well, makes sense.
Okay. You got it. Okay. Let me know if you have any other questions. You can hop back on anytime. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Awesome. Okay. See you. Junior, you there? Junior. Come on. Okay. I'll come back to you. I'm going to count of 3, 2, 1. Boom. Hey, Ben, you there? Junior, I'll come back to you, man. Don't worry.
Hello.
What's up, Ben? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I just had a couple questions here. So I'm in New England. I'm in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And I have a deal in Massachusetts. I have it under contract.
Uh-huh.
And I just had a general question about attorney states, because Massachusetts is a attorney state. So I had a really hard time finding a closing attorney. And the one I found, she's been great, but she didn't want to do the traditional purchase and sale and like the traditional process that you guys teach.
Okay.
Instead, she wanted me to execute an offer agreement with the seller and then do the assignment contract with the buyer, and then the buyer would execute the PNS. So I just want to know what your thoughts were with that. And
Well, so Ben, just I want to make sure I got this right. They've recommended to you to enter into a purchase and sale agreement between you and the seller, correct?
no, so yeah, well, she wanted me to do an offer contract, like you know how realtors had those offer.
Yeah, it's same thing. Like when it's all said at the end of the day, like you can call it whatever, PSA, real estate contract, and then from there, they want you to enter into an assignment of contract with your new cash buyer, correct?
Right. Yeah, and then they would do another contract with the seller.
No, they
Yeah.
can't, because once you enter an assignment of contract, there is no other contract. That assignment of contract gives them the legal right to take over your position on your original contract.
Okay.
You can't once you do an assignment, they're actually breaking the chain of command by writing another contract. You can't do it. So here's how it works. It doesn't matter if it's an attorney state or not.
Mm-hmm.
There is an initial contract, call it whatever you want, just a purchase contract. Seller and buyer, you guys agree? As long as that contract's assignable, you can go find a cash buyer, enter into an assignment of contract, and once they enter that assignment of contract and you attach the original contract as the Exhibit A, that is your enforceable document. There is no other document. You can't legally do it any other way. You just, because once you enter an assignment of contract and then they leave escrow for that, the only way to fulfill that is they fulfill your original contract.
Right.
So that's the only way you can do it. You can cut it however you want, but that's the correct way to do it. Any other way just becomes messy and a waste of paperwork and time.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's two sides of the story. So if you don't trust what they say, ask another one. But if you're asking me 21 years, there's a purchase and sale agreement. You enter into it as long as it has the availability for assignability. You can sell your interest to another party with another contract of assignment of contract. So there's only two contracts, period.
Okay.
Now, the only other way is if you did it without an assignment of contract and it was a non-assignable, then you would have to have two different purchase contracts. But I don't really see that necessary in this thing. So maybe just talk to the lawyer, make sure you guys are on the same page. But
okay, yeah, I'll talk to her because
I'm not here to but I got to tell you, man, some lawyers, they stick to their guns no matter what.
Yeah.
But go, listen, dude, I'm just a simple guy. I'm pretty straightforward here. But if I enter an agreement and it's assignable and I assign my interest over with an assignment of contract, the hell else do you need other paperwork for? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, she said something about the title companies not with your process, like just doing the purchase and sale.
Okay, so that's the other part of the equation is you have to find a title company that, first of all, there's nothing illegal about doing an assignment of contract. If the title company decides their policy is this makes us uncomfortable, and we think you're opening us up to litigation, then they have the right not to do it. So you got to go find a title company that will do it. The thing is, it's a very clean transaction. There's nothing illegal about it. It is a common real estate investment strategy. You're not asking anyone to do anything illegal.
Right.
So the fact that this title company doesn't even want to touch it, you just got to go find a title company that will work with them.
Yeah.
So I just, to me, because to be fair, there's a lot of unscrupulous wholesalers that go to title companies and ask them to do really illegal stuff. And I get it why they say no. They're like, dude, I don't trust you. We don't know what you're doing. But if the cash buyer is on board and the assignment of contract is very transparent between you and the cash buyer, then I just don't understand why they would even stop doing it. So is that lawyer associated with the title company or two separate parties?
No, so she's like an attorney, and I guess she works with the title company, so she does title services through.
Yeah, so she just needs to find you a company that wants to basically let you execute an assignment of contract on a cash deal,
Mm-hmm.
and if not, go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm just telling you, it's like you have a 100% clean. There's not like you don't have to hide behind anything on that deal.
Okay. Yeah.
They should be begging you to do it. It's like it's clean, it's easy, it's good for everybody.
Right.
And if she's not going to help you find a title company, then you might have to go replace her,
Right.
him, whoever it is. Make sense?
Yeah.
You're doing everything right. You just got the wrong person doing it. And you rather find out now than later.
Yeah. Okay.
Because man, when you get to the title company and you find out you got the wrong one, it is a nightmare. They will kill your deal every time.
Yeah.
You know, there's some lawyers and especially title companies, they dance on the table and they go, listen, did you know Ben's making a $25,000 assignment fee off of you?
Yeah.
Well, I knew he was making money. I didn't know he was making that much money.
Yeah.
Are you, and here's they go. Here's the best part. Are you okay with that? Like, the hell? You just look at them like, why am I paying you for this crap? I just get the signatures and move on with your life. But title companies will do that. And honestly, if you don't know if your seller has a problem with you making an assignment fee before you get there, that's on you too. It's like, but I've had title companies go so far out of their way, like they were like the capitalist police.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them go like this. Well, Rick, I don't think it's fair that you can make $25,000 in a stroke of a pen, and I only make $35,000 a year. I'm like, so you're going to pass judgment on how much you make a year based on my one transaction. And honestly, I've gotten that so many times, many times. And you have to go, I'm not going to let them screw it up. Right. Now, a good title company they'll put it on the HUD and they'll just go, and like, I don't need you highlighting it and pointing it to it. Okay. Right. Like, because you make people uncomfortable when you do that. Because they seem like, especially in an attorney state, it seems like you're pointing it out and trying to cover your butt. And so just so you know, all title companies have a lot of variance on how they can present the paperwork. And you're going to learn this as you go on. You just want to make sure they're not going to screw it up for you.
Right.
So like I have some title companies that I work very good with. They split the HUDs up, which actually makes me uncomfortable. Do you know what that means? It means the seller only sees their side of the transaction and the buyer only sees their side of the transaction. It's called a blind HUD. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it because it seems a little bit misleading, if you know what I mean. But like, oh my God, as a wholesaler, it's the greatest thing in the world because you never have to worry about two people ever touching ever.
Right.
But I tell my title company, it's not necessary. I've told my seller knows I'm making money off them. They're like, are you sure, Rick? I'm like, no, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have one that's like a little bit proactive like that. It's not, but here's the one you don't want, the ones that highlight it. And now there's title companies out there will actually make you sign an additional disclosure and have the seller sign it, and it will run you under the bus.
Oh, God.
So I'm just telling you, find a title company because you work hard to get these deals. The worst thing in the world is when they screw it up. I lost a $75,000 assignment fee because the title company did exactly. And you know what my problem was? I caved and I used the buyer's title company. And because they were paying such a high fee, and that's what destroyed it. Right. Oh my God. And I'm like, I rather made my 25,000 and moved on. I got greedy and I broke my cardinal rule. And that's the problem. When you start moving around the other title companies, I've seen them screw up $2,000 deals to $100,000 deals. And so just be very, very wary. Your transaction's clean. Just remind her. And if she can't help you facilitate, just go find somebody else to help you out with it. There's somebody out there. There's plenty of deals done in Massachusetts.
Right. Okay. And this is kind of like more of a beginner level question, I guess, but I never thought about it. So like you were talking about disclosing the assignment or like you getting a profit to the seller. How like exactly do you go about that?
It's just real simple. So I basically, so you can do it one or two ways. And if you're comfortable, you can even put them in your contracts. And the contracts I give you, if you want to put a line in there, even though it says it's for profit, it's just, I don't go out of my way saying, sign these 4 pages saying disclosed. If I have a seller that's being squirrely or like how much money you're going to make, dude, just rip the conversation off right there. Listen, here's the deal. I don't know how much I'm buying this thing for. Looking around, I have no idea how much work it needs. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I do know I'm going to make a profit. If you're not okay with that, let's just stop here. We'll part as friends. You understand, I have to make a living.
Right.
Some of these we actually lose money. Some of them actually work out wonderfully well. If your concentration is on getting rid of the property and moving on with your life, I want to work with you. But I have the understanding I will make some sort of profit, hopefully. And that's it. And once I remind them of that, if it ever comes back up again, I go, remember, I told you, I'm here to make a profit. I put it on one line on the contract and I make it simple. By the way, you can have them sign 9 different disclosures. It doesn't protect you any more than court.
Okay.
It's like they will always come down to what your word was. And when you have to testify and you're ever deposed, I told her I'm going to make a profit. It's consistent on my contract. It's consistent in every conversation I have with people. And
Right.
that's what I do. But like when you got someone who's struggling, if you're going to make, if they want you to make a profit, like I normally don't do deals with people like that anyways. I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
and like sometimes I walk in the house, I go, I have no idea what I'm even going to do with this thing. Honestly, it depends on how much money we have to put into it. Some of them I do keep as rentals. Some of them I have to sell to recoup all my monies. And, there's a cost for it. That's
Right.
it. And honestly, if you can't have that conversation with a seller, like don't do wholesaling. Because
Yeah, no,
do
I
you
hear
really, do you think a seller thinks you're getting into this to break even? It's crazy.
Well,
They know deep down. And in the end, they can go back and look and see what you resold it for, and you shouldn't lose sleep over it. And by the way, I've had sellers call me afterwards.
yeah.
I saw you made 50 grand on it. And some of them congratulate. Some of them are like, I didn't realize you were going to make that much money. I go, honestly, I had no idea.
Right.
See, they're not there when like I've had plenty of properties I couldn't give away. So it's
Yeah.
like, don't ever feel bad for making a profit, and don't ever hide simply by saying, I'm here to make a profit. This is what I do. And I provide a very valuable service and I want to help you out. And I focus on their problem and I just reiterate it to them, because at the end of the day, you don't even know if you're going to make a profit. It's just the truth.
True.
So like, don't lose sleep on it, because they will never be there if you ever lose money. They're like, oh yeah, my God, you dumbass. So
Yeah. Okay.
I find if you hit it up front with them, you never, ever have to waver when you tell them.
Yeah.
And if you put it in a disclosure document and never read it to them, they don't even know they signed it, and it's not going to help you out. So there are a certain level of wholesalers who want to cover their ass on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to do that, but I'm just telling you, when you try to slip it in after the fact, you usually freak the seller out. Like, why am I signing this form after? I don't understand. And it's like, it doesn't look bad. Now, I just think if you do everything up front, you have the least amount of resistance. If you try to do it at a closing, that's when they'll question everything. So,
Right. Okay. Understood.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's all the questions I had.
Okay, man.
Appreciate
Okay,
it.
Ben. I'll
Thank
talk to you, bud.
right.
See you. Okay, Junior, I'm back. Hopefully you'll be back. I'll wait for you. Don't worry. I'm flexible. Let's see here. There he is. He's sideways.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly, man.
I'm
How you
sideways.
doing?
I don't know why. I don't know.
Now you're
why.
good now.
I'm doing great.
What's going on,
I'm
man?
actually doing some reverse driving for dollars.
Okay.
This is my second day doing reverse driving for dollars.
Yeah.
They're from pre-foreclosures. So one of the things I noticed, I'm actually in Jacksonville, Florida. A lot of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the pre-foreclosures, they have case management dates. Some of them are a month from now, and a lot of them from the list I got a few weeks ago are in the end of November. If there's it's called a case management conference. Is that something that means that I won't be able to sell it? I'm assuming that is not an auction date, but I don't know if it is or if it's
No,
related to
so
that.
the only thing, so Florida's easy. I'm just going to give you the crash course on pre-foreclosures. The earlier you can catch them, the easier it is. The later you get them in the process, they're usually a nightmare. People tend to procrastinate. So let me walk you through it.
Right.
Say you miss a couple payments on your mortgage, you start getting some nasty phone calls, and then you get a nasty letter, right? And then after 3 or 4 months, the bank says, screw this. We're going to follow the lawsuit. And they do what they call a lis pendens. Notice of default. They send it out. And it's a very, very harsh letter. And it's usually like a court document. When the sellers get that, it usually, most people don't like to be served. So they're served, by the way. They're not like, they don't get it in the mail. So usually a sheriff office rolls up and does it. That's usually when they're like, okay, the wife goes to the husband, like, we got to figure this out right now. And that's when people want to like solve the problem, and like the truth wave hits them. Like, we can't afford this house. We got to get it sold. It's got issues. We need to move on. The problem is after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, guess what? They get numb to the problem. Hey,
Right.
the wife goes to the husband and goes, what are we going to do about this, the foreclosure on the house? I go, well, I don't know about you, but we're not making any payments and no one's bothering us. So I kind of like the new arrangement we have. That's how every one of them wind up. And then usually about 7 to 12 months down the road, they get a notice of default, a final one. They get a summary judgment, and then their house, the judge enters it in for an auction, and they get an auction date within 30 days. And then every one of them calls you. Oh, please, 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 Junior, I'm ready to go now. I go, no. Remember, I told you in the beginning, I have options. I can help you out. But if you wait till the last minute, my hands are tied. Here's the problem. At the end of it, it's already entered into a judgment, and it's already scheduled for an auction. You have to intervene with a lawyer to even try to stop it. And even that's 50-50. And that lawyer is going to cost you $2,000 right off the bat. And I'm not going to pay the $2,000. You know, the seller's not going to pay it. So who's going to pay it? No one's going to pay it.
Right.
And that's the problem. So if you catch them early, it's better off. The idea is if you ever want to look at a foreclosure case, they're public, so everybody can see it. They can't hide it. And all you have to do is look at the date it's filed, and you can see when the clock has started. Once you see a foreclosure's in there like a year, they're challenging. The fees have stacked up. The lawyers have put their liens all over the property, and the auction is inevitable. When you catch them in the beginning, if they still want to sell their property, they can sell it because they are the owner in the state of Florida until the name on the deed changes. So they're in control. But the problem is, as 7, 8, 9 months go by and they're not making payments, and you have attorneys' expenses racking up on it and late fees, they run out of money on it. And a lot of times there's no equity left in the house no matter what you do. Not even a creative financing deal can save those deals. And so if you catch them early, you have more options because they have more equity in the property.
Right. That makes sense.
And when people like, if they truly want to deal with the problem, they're more motivated. But the problem, 7, 8 months, they're like, well, Junior, like, I haven't made a payment in over a year. No one's knocked on my door for payment. Why do I need to sell it now? They go, listen, when they ever put up auction, I'll call you back. And they do every time. That 100% of the time they'll call you. Hey, Junior, we'll take your offer now. I'm like, that was 7 months ago. Did you make any payments since then? Did you get the advice from? And they never do. And that's the problem. So the moral of the story is try to catch them early. The only thing you need to look at is if you want to look their case online, because it's very public. So you can go in the clerk of courts and just put in their last name and the first initial of the letter. And you can tell. So each one of the court cases is going to have the year within it. So if filed in 2023, either it starts in 2023 or depending on how your county does it, and you can tell. Like right away when you see the court case, I'm like, okay, I'm not like, and I like to go, listen, I just got served. I want to get this thing done. And like, because listen, pre-foreclosure, they're not the easiest deals in the world to work with. There's a lot of drama with them. But when the seller makes the drama and they just like throw up all over you 10 times, it gets like, and when you tell them, don't call me at the end, and they call you at the end, you're like, I told you so. But there's nothing you can do at that point.
Right.
Go, listen, here's what I need you to do. You need to hire an attorney. And guess what? Guess what the judge is going to say when they hire an attorney 10 months after the case has been open? I'm like, where the hell you been the last 10 months? And the judge gets pissed. I've watched them. They're like, you didn't respond once, and now you're only responding because it's about to be sold at auction. So
okay, that makes sense.
Catch them early. That's all I can tell you. You'll save yourself a lot of drama and pain.
So you were saying the date that I look out for is called a summons of
The only thing you need to look is when they file like the lis pendens, because that's an official lawsuit. That's when the pre-foreclosure, the foreclosure process starts. And there'll be a case.
That's the list that I got.
What's that?
That's the list that I got. So I went into the courthouse.
Yeah.
And then I asked for lis pendens. I noticed most of what I have was filed in September, but there are some things that I see were filed in like August, July.
That's reasonable within 90
Okay.
days. And a lot of the stuff you're telling me is when so they try to do on all foreclosures in the state of Florida is they want everything to go to mediation the first like 60 days to see if the
Okay.
people can work it out. The bank and the homeowner, it rarely ever happens, by the way. Bank just
Okay.
wants their
Now,
money. So
that makes sense.
yeah, so it's a process, but the problem is you try to find the people early on that want your help, and you got to just get rid of the tire kickers. Like they will drive you nuts. Like they go, like, I'll tell you what, Junior, if it doesn't work out in the end, I'll call you. I'm like, no, don't call me at the end. There's nothing I can do at the end. Honestly, you need to like figure this out. If you give it enough time, you can walk away with your dignity. You can walk away without a foreclosure, and you can usually walk away with some money. If you wait till the end, I don't know if I can accomplish any of those three things I just said to you.
Right.
Like,
Okay,
what do you mean?
that
I
makes
go,
sense.
are you okay with a sheriff coming to kick you and your family out? Because that's typically what's going to happen if you wait till the last minute. And then at the last minute, whenever
Right.
they put up the auction, there's like 30 or 50 people parading around the house. They do not care. They'll all try to come in. It's ugly. I've seen it. It's really bad. So people
Okay.
don't buy these properties sight unseen. I'm telling you, they send out people to take pictures of the property and look at it. And you always have to go, there's like
Okay.
20 people up front of my house taking pictures. I'm like, yeah, because it's going up the auction. Remember we talked about this? Can you help
Right.
me? I go, I could have helped you 7 months ago. Let me see what I can do now. But like, are you willing to pay for a lawyer? If they're not willing to pay
Right.
for a lawyer, I won't even bother at the end.
Okay. Thank you. I
Well,
appreciate that. And
okay,
I do
man, you got
appreciate
it?
everything you and Zach are doing. Now I have another question. So I'm noticing a lot of them. I'm finding a lot of pre-foreclosures where it's also, I don't know if it's an official probate yet, but it's saying the like to the hears of whatever the person's name is.
Okay.
Is that something that is normally a better deal to
Well,
go after?
those are really good deals because, yeah, I mean, it that's like a plus plus. So if you have a probate and a foreclosure, that's multiple pain points. So it should be an indication of a higher motivation to get rid of the property. It doesn't guarantee it.
Okay.
Also, that sets you up if you ever want to do a creative subject to financing. They are
Right.
the absolute best deals you can do. You know why?
Why is that?
Because nobody complains about taking over a dead person's mortgage ever.
Right. Okay.
So your typical complaint is you go to me and say, hey, Rick, listen, I'll just take over your mortgage and give you like $5,000. And here's what I said. I said, well, Junior, what happens if you don't pay my mortgage? Am I going to get screwed or what's going to happen? What are they going to say about a deceased person? They're already gone. You can't attack their credit. As long as they get their equity out of it, what they think is fair, it's a huge win-win. By the way, the deal you just described are my absolute favorite deals to do. Remember, who do you have to get permission from in this types of instance since the sellers passed away?
The PR, the
That's
personal
it.
representative.
That's your replacement. It's the same thing,
That
type of
it
thing.
has been difficult for me to find information on these people, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. And remember, you want to reach out to them because you're actually doing them a favor because they're losing equity every month that they don't get that property disposed of.
Right.
Through bank payments,
Okay.
insurance, utilities, lawn maintenance, everything. The idea is like, listen, what if I could get the property sold before the probate's done and like basically mitigate all the losses you're having on the properties? And that's how I try to use trade bait for them to do an appointment with me.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Now,
But
I
that's
was
a great
hoping
deal.
to be
I
able
love
to-
deals like that. So you should jump all over that.
Thank you. I will. I was hoping
Okay.
to make it to this the event on Thursday. I was trying to get my first deal and just JV it with you guys, but
Yeah.
that did not work out. I was actually gonna just pay the $99, but I seen the extra thing.
I do. Like,
startup
honestly, I
fee,
try to keep these things like
and I
a
wasn't
little bit small, but honestly, I still think I give the best value out there. But don't worry. I'll still help you out. I don't
well, that
make
makes
money in
sense.
objects
I
with
will be
people.
at the next one for sure.
Okay. We'll do it. Don't worry about it. Okay, man. Just
Yeah,
keep
I'll
hustling.
definitely be at
Keep
the next
looking.
one for sure.
Okay, bud. Thanks,
And you will
Junior.
see me on some of my paper very shortly. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome, man. I'll see you. Okay, guys. So listen, if you got value out of today, do me a favor. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Believe it or not, it does actually help out. And if you could just click that button, and honestly, if you got value from this, give me a thumbs up. And make sure you check out our Flip with Rick channel. We're approaching 100 grand. I would love to get all you on there. Obviously, I will be on there. I'll be on there this Thursday. It'll be probably a recorded video. And make sure you check out my son's channel, Rick Ginn. He drops some great truth bombs on there. And guys, that's it. So I appreciate it. I hope to get to see everybody later this week. I'll actually be on Flip with Rick tomorrow live at 1 p.m. So if you guys want to check it out, I got some really cool content for that. And I'll see you guys.